Welcome to Design and Thrive. I'm Cassie Brkich, founder of Brkich Design Group, and the team and I are here to help you level up your brand with practical tips on branding, web design, and marketing for any budget. Whether your business is small, large, or somewhere in between, each episode is packed with insights and strategies to help your business stand out and grow. Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Cassie Brkich. Welcome to Design and Thrive. We are here with Chris Currier, representing Brkich Design Group. We've been around for 20 years now, doing marketing, small business, web design, branding, small to medium-sized businesses, web design and development, branding, and the like. And we have not talked marketing yet, so I'm so excited to talk to you, Chris.
I'm excited too.
Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you.
So just to give you a little bit of the background with Chris here, I actually hired him as an external contractor to help me with our marketing of our specific quick launch websites, which you did an amazing job with email, funnels, all the things, connecting the dots and connecting the software. And I didn't have to do any of it. And that was fantastic.
Well,
so
it wasn't really hard because you had done a lot of the work. It just helped. All I needed to do was help kind of focus it and hone it. Yeah. And so I pinch myself today that I still have the pleasure to work on your business.
He's a super fan. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. No, I'm happy to have you. So now you are on board and you're helping us with a little bit more of our process. We actually, truthfully, just brought you on. So literally just brought you on. So I'm really, really excited for you to take that to our clients and to take it to other aspects of our marketing, things that we sell and things that we want to push a little bit more. So excited to have you on Quick Launch, but super excited to just make you a true fan, super fan of everything.
Fun, exciting times.
Yes, fun and exciting times. So, I mean, speaking of marketing, so the biggest question is, why should people care? What is it about marketing and what do they need to care about? Why should they care?
For me, having been in this industry pretty much since college, marketing is everything, right? So I mean, even today, if you think about like young influencers and what have you, I mean, they even talk about brand, right? So brand is kind of everything. So as a small to medium sized company that we work with, you definitely have to have a presence, and the things that I like to get to that why about, what really drives your business and then figure out the right story that connects that company to that audience.
Yeah, so I love when you say that, connecting the company to the audience.
I mean, that could be anything. It could be websites, email campaigns, social. I just did a presentation the other day on like how awful outdoor boards can be. So
it's like the most expensive thing, but they think about it very little. Yeah, they just like slap it together. Yeah, on with it.
Yeah, there's so many evil hands in that situation that people aren't like helping them do better.
Yeah. But and that's another thing too from the customer side of things. They don't know who does what. So they'll send something to a sign guy. They're like, do this thing, but then they don't send the brand sheet with it or any kind of guidance. And that guy guy or gal just does that thing. They think, and they do a great job, but it doesn't match anything else. So then you're marketing two different businesses.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you even said something there that's kind of implied in our business because we do it, but brand sheet.
Yeah.
Companies don't really think that they need that. But, how helpful is that if you take on a new client and they hand over the brand guidelines? That's such a shortcut because the sandbox that you're playing in.
Exactly.
And a lot of people just don't know to do that intuitively.
And we talked about that in the brand version of this podcast because we actually have a cheat sheet and it teaches you how to actually make your own brand guideline with a free Canva template. So there's no excuses, people. And stick it on your wall. It doesn't have to be, in a frame or, out in a company memo. Just stick it on the wall so everyone can see it, That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. How important are those visuals compared to the messaging? I mean, it's all important, but, do people forget about the visuals you're saying or?
Well, no, not at all. I mean, one of the first things that I learned as a young AE, I had a mentor talk to me about USA Today and how it was designed and, people see visuals first and then they see a headline and then they might see a headline and then they might read body copy. So that first impact visual is huge. If you're not capturing that, you're not capturing with with a strong line, you've already lost a lot because you have to tell that story and you have to really make that connection at that first impulse. You'll have other opportunities, but it makes it harder and harder if you don't have great stuff to go out with.
And then consistency. Like once you figure out what that great stuff is and what that message is and what that visual is, it has to be consistent. On our brand sheets, we do photos as well. So it doesn't have to be these exact photos, but this is a photo style that we're considering for you. And that, even that's important, because then you don't want to like something that's neon next to something that's like moody and dark. And, you know, like you just have to go up against it all. Yeah, that's awesome. So once you have that marketing kind of, even if it's like just a regular generic brand campaign, not like a specific seasonal message or something like that, once you have that, how often should you refresh it or check in on it?
It is an interesting question, partly because companies and we as marketers that see it a lot, we get tired of it a lot quicker than the audience does.
Yes, yeah.
Like, because we live with it night and day, like as we're kind of, you know, however long it takes to develop it. And then, you know, we're doing like multiple executions on it and things like that. So like we just get tired of seeing it. So sometimes it could be a month, sometimes it could be 3 months, and we're just always constantly ready to do that. Our audience is not seeing it as much as they are. So, you know, trying to find that sweet spot between, you know, kind of we're tired of it, but it, you know, it's not long in the tooth in the client's eyes, I guess in the customer's eyes, you know, so finding that sweet spot, it is smart to go back and revisit it, because, you know, it is hard to kind of just set it and forget it, because that's obviously not a good thing either.
Yeah. I think it feels so daunting to customers. I mean, again, that's why they work with us, you know, so they don't have to do that. But yeah, you're right. Like we get tired of it. Even our own social pushes, or, you know, we're pushing quick launch websites or something like that. I'm like, gosh, we've talking about that a lot, but really we're not. Like we're really not.
Right.
It just feels like it because we breathe it, you know. But even just refreshing that, or just listening, I find that, you know, listening to the feedback or doing a little audit as you go along to make sure that the message is getting across, or what questions do people have, then you can kind of tweak it to answer those questions, but keep the main brand messaging, you know, solid, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, you know, I can think of a recent example where I've been kind of evolving a brand as it goes along, but then I had to go back to that original brand document to kind of recenter it, because I had started straying a little bit, and it was perfectly okay. Like the client was approving things along the way, but I dusted it off and I looked back at it and I was like, oh yeah, we kind of forgot about that little core tenet. And so it is good, like every 3 to 6 months, to just kind of, even if nothing changes, just to go back and recenter yourself and make sure that.
And if it's easy for us to do, to stray, it's easy, definitely easy for the client to stray if we're not kind of paying attention to it. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things too. It's like, you can work with someone like us and we can still go astray, you know, but then, like you said, come back and check in. For the customer, if you're not doing that check-in yourself more often, then it's more likely for you to stray. Especially if, and we have this issue with branding, especially if you're not your own target audience. Like something I may like as a, you know, 45-year-old woman, if I'm 45-year-old women are not my target, then I'm going to start interjecting more and more of my own personality, and everyone's going to be like, calm down, Cassie. Like no one is buying a website that is, you know, in your arena or whatever. So that's the tricky part, and that we tell the customers that, especially with branding, it's like, you may like blue, but that is not what your audience is responding to. So we have to remove yourself from the target audience.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Hard. I've gotten into a habit of setting up my presentations with a quote of the day.
And, like when you do that.
And the other day, we were getting ready to talk about logos and brand colors and things like that. So I purposely chose a quote, and I'm not going to remember the exact quote, but it was by Picasso, and it talked about how colors are, you know, reflect like the daily emotion and things like that. Yeah. And so I set it up specifically so we could talk about like color theory instead of like, well, I like that because it's blue.
Right. 100%. Like, I mean, I was thinking about that when I was dressing for the podcast. Like I kept, the George Costanza kept going in my head. Like, I'm dressing according to mood. Like, but they were all brand approved. Like I'm not going to, it was actually very difficult to go into my closet and try to find something that was brand appropriate, but also I liked, which it's not easy. I apparently have a lot of brand colors in my closet. I have a lot of crazy bright things, and it was not working out. So, but yeah, no, it really does creep its way into every aspect. And the more you can be on brand, even in the smallest thing, like a color that you're wearing, the cheaper and more effective your marketing is going to be.
Yeah. The nice thing about smaller companies, like working with them, I mean, a lot of times, like their brand personality is already kind of started in that brand, you know, in their company brand. And so like it's it's not too difficult, but you do see that like things have evolved and what have you. And so having that center about the brand specifically certainly helps.
Yeah. And do you ever like, how do you, when you first get a new customer, especially one that has been in business for a little while, do you just like lay out all the stuff on the table and you're like, okay, when was your company doing well? Like, okay, this is what your marketing was at the time. And then it evolved into this and then it went a little stray. Like, how do you even acclimate yourself with a new client like that?
Well, I mean, it's just diving in, right? So it's trying to uncover as much as you can. I mean, having been exposed to a lot of larger agencies and larger clients in my past, I just always had to kind of quickly adapt.
Yeah.
And so,
like you're late already.
Yeah,
Chris,
just kind of being a quick study. And one thing that I used to love to say is, as an account executive, it's my job to know your business as well as you do. Yeah. Having gone on the other side and been, part of corporate America and their marketing departments as well, I don't know if an outside consultant can ever truly know their business as much as they do, just because the volume of data and all that kind of stuff and the speed of data that they get. Yeah. You can be tuned into it, but if you're not living, breathing that every single moment like they are, you do fall behind a bit. But I've come to learn that like that outside perspective provides fresh because like when you are inside, it's so easy to get those company blinders.
Yes, for sure.
So that like having that outside resource helps.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We say that with our social media clients too. It's like we want to do the pre-planning, we want to do the pre-planned posts, but that like on the fly stuff, it really does have to come in from inside.
Yeah.
Because we're delayed. Even if we take a day, we're delayed. So you just got to get it out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I like that. And I think getting to know a client as quick as possible is your superpower for sure. Because it's challenging. It's challenging to be able to not, and I think as a designer, a lot of us want to just go in deep on something that we just found interesting instead of like, okay, let's move on. We have a lot to learn here. We're like, no, but that was really cool. Let's keep going in. And you're like, nope. We need the whole story. So yeah, I think that's really cool. When we talk client projects, like how can we make it easy? How can we make it easy for clients? It is so daunting. And we talked about this on the web design podcast. It's like we have all these pieces and like we love creating puzzles, but how can we make it easy for the customer, the whole way through? Right.
Well, I mean, part of the discovery that I had when I was working with you, I was doing kind of background discovery and then also had a client kind of going through the process as well. So I kind of had like two fire hoses that I was drinking from. And the thing that helped kind of solidify that, especially like with you, was the process. Like you have like the process for quick launch is ironed out. Like you have steps along the way because you have certain steps in that build that have to be followed. So like it was just a wonderful thing to have. So like documentation, like setting expectations and just kind of meeting deadlines and stuff. And that just, it almost sounds like project management 101, but it's necessary, right? And so like if you don't have that, it is complete chaos.
And I think I actually want you to break out that process a little bit more. Like when use quick launch for example, if you want, but what was that like? I mean, like I remember just sending you everything we had on a Google Drive and just like, here's all the images, here's all the graphics we came up, here was some GIFs and here's some text and here's some SOPs. Like, what did you, again, spread it all out on the table and just like, how did you immerse yourself that quickly?
I mean, it was just a matter of kind of reading things as much as I could and kind of going through it. And then also, like I said, I think I kind of cheated because I had a client going through it at the same time. So I was able to look at it as like through those client eyes. And so like I was just like, even though I was kind of inside the tent and I knew why certain things needed to happen the way it was, I could see it through the client's perspective.
That was helpful.
And then kind of understand it and help that person navigate as he was working to set up the documents and the information that you guys needed so that you hit all the right spots along the way.
And that was helpful to us because if that client doesn't understand it and he has a translator in you, then we have to change some things. So that was really, really helpful having you as an insider and an outsider at the same time for us. But I think that's all very interesting because I think when you say marketing, it's so overwhelming and so confusing and you're thinking big Apple marketing dollars, like, so I clearly can't market, but everything you do is marketing. Every time you put yourself in front of a client, you give them a business card, you say hello, like that is marketing. So what works with your audience? Is it face-to-face? Is it online? Is it digital print? Like what is it? So it's like getting to that as soon as possible. And again, separating the client from their target. Like you are not your target always. You know, you might spend all this time on Instagram every night, but your client is not on Instagram or whatever, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, going back to that kind of that brand guideline and things like that, like the story doesn't change just because of your tactic or the execution that you're doing. The core of that story still remains, like that's helping you connect with your customers. The execution might, like you might have like a fun, interesting little spin on it, but at its core, it's still about that brand and the benefit of that brand, product or service, how it impacts lives and in a different way.
Yeah, and I think that actually is a good point. I mean, a new social media thing can come up tomorrow. You know, a new app that we have to then learn and decide if it's a good idea and not just jump right into. So that messaging doesn't change, but like the delivery model might change, the platform might change, the way you're saying it might change based on, you know, character count or something like that. Or like, you know, if your client's going to a conference, like how do you take that digital model and get it into in person? Like, what do you do there?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's so easy for people to just think about the conference itself. Like, you know, well, we're going to be at the conference. We're going to do this booth. And it's like, well, how are you going to market that you're going to be at that conference?
What about before and after?
What are you sending your clients and prospects in advance, you know, to help book meetings and just make sure you're having a productive conference? Okay, what are you doing at that conference? You know, if you're speaking, you know, make sure that you're highlighting that you're speaking, even do a post thing about the speak, maybe have someone take some pictures of you speaking.
It's like, all content.
It's amazing. Yeah, exactly. It's all content that is equal play for anything. And then what are you doing after the conference to follow up on everybody that you engaged with? And
where are you sending them? Like you have to have a website. It's not just about your booth layout. The booth is important, but you have to.
Well, we have this pop-up banner. That'll work.
Okay, good. Call it a day. Check. We're done. See you later.
We'll gladly design that pop-up banner for you.
But what about this? That's the thing. And that's where marketers come in. And that is when you go to a sign guy. You go to a sign guy, you need a pop-up banner. That's good. Great. But if you need a marketer, you go to a marketer and then a designer and we figure out everything and then we send it to the printer and then they print it, you know, because ideally it's coming from a bigger place, a more well-rounded place. You know?
Well, the blessing and the curse of me is, so like I've been on integrated accounts pretty much since day one. So like big agency retainers, things like that, like just pretty much any tactic, right? And so I have all that in my head as I'm talking to these smaller companies and I'm trying to figure out, well, that would be great. That would be great. Well, let's build a plan to get you there. You might not be able to afford it now.
Exactly.
But here's what that looks like today, and here's how we can get there. And so, like, I just love bringing that toolkit into any conversation.
I think that's what's great about you and your expertise is that you do have the big agency, but you're not living up in the clouds. Like, you know, like that is not going to work for a lot of these smaller to medium-sized companies. But you have the expertise when they get there, and you can really take them on the stepping stones to get there, you know, because you know the way.
Well, I think I've told you this before, but what excited me most about Quick Launch the website, literally the last corporate website I worked on was over $200,000. And it was crazy, and it took months.
Probably close to a year.
It was probably about, it was about 9 months. So, they were fast.
Okay.
Right? But like, I know for a fact with your approach and, you know, some add-ins, because it was e-com and things like that. It could be
4
done.
to 6 weeks instead.
Easily.
And you're not stuck. You know, you can change it anytime. You can grow. Yeah, we just finished a 250-page website we've been working on for about, 8 months. You know, so, and that was fast. That was a pretty fast, but that was full custom, no template to begin with. And when we say template, it's custom built by us. So it's not a template we purchased on the internet, but yeah, that's the cool part is like, you can take two approaches. If you want it done right now and you have the budget, awesome. We love it. We love the challenge of that big, meaty website, or we can start with a 5 to 10 page, 15 page, and then you can change it for the next 8 months, but you have something up in a week or 2 to 4, depending on what you decide to go with. And, I love that. And I think, it's all about not taking it so seriously too. It's like, yes, you want it to be right. And we're going to have error free, but you don't need to have the white horse carriage thing immediately. Start with a moped.
Yeah. Everything is iterative now. Right. So, because you're always like building and testing and learning and growing and it's that constant feedback cycle. Yeah,
we talked about this with Amy was talking about that on the web design podcast. It's like we're so trained in print, like we all are as a humanity, because we had print much longer than we had the web. So it's like this is the final. We're printing thousands of copies. It's going to cost a lot of money, so it better be good.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, which is why there's so much nonsense out there, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. A book just popped in my head that I read a long time ago. It's called Boyd. He was I'm totally gonna bash this, so we might even have to cut it.
I'm just going to cut the whole thing out.
So it's a book called Boyd. He was a naval aviator and basically he set up this, it's like an OODA loop. So it's observe, orient, decide, and act. Right. And so like, you're just constantly doing that and obviously it was for the Navy, and it became like a really strong doctrine for the Marines as well. But like, I'm not a military guy, so that's why I probably got all that stuff wrong. But I love
they're gonna find
like
you.
conceptually, like it makes sense, and like I think that way, like with anything that I do with marketing, because you're assessing things and making decisions, and then constantly going back and
but you're not sitting in the corner in like fetal position, like panic to start. You have to just make a step, do the step, change. Yeah, it's okay.
Yep,
we're human.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to see what's happening with what happens next and how you integrate with our clients. And, one of the things we've talked about is like, I have this like idea of client success, to make sure someone's collecting data about the progress of our websites or about the progress of a brand, the whole process, not just doing the work, making sure that we're like checking in with clients, making sure that they understand the process, that they don't have any questions, that kind of thing. And at the same time, you're getting more embedded into their business and learning more as you go. So I'm so excited to bring that in, because it was me doing that. Like I should be, you have the know-how and just the background to really know what to do next. And I'm so excited to have you doing that with our clients.
I'm excited as well. I mean, it's my bread and butter. That's what I've done.
Love
it. I enjoy projects. I enjoy relationships. And I enjoy creative. And like, that's what this is. And so it's like a good mix of all that and make it happen.
Excited. Yeah, I'm super excited, because I mean, that's what I enjoy as well. And, just duplicating me. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I could never duplicate you.
So we have this thing called Design Good Deed, which I threw on you right before, we chatted today. So we have one of them ready. So we did a branding one, and we're going to do one for web design. We're going to do one for marketing, social media, and that kind of thing, where we kind of surprise a client with something for free. Okay. So tell me what you're going to do, and we'll go from there.
I think what we could do is a marketing audit.
Nice.
Right. So kind of sit down with a client, get a sense of kind of where they are. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier, like getting to that why. Yeah. So a brand audit, kind of getting to that why, so that we're interviewing, really kind of making them focus on their business and not, even getting them out of their space if you can. So let's face it, like everybody's working in the day-to-day, just kind of consume stuff. So it's like a mini retreat to kind of concentrate on the brand. Yeah. So a brand audit that really kind of like refocuses and re-energizes the marketing.
That's awesome. That's super exciting. So we will be able to surprise one client with that and follow up, and we'll have it in the show notes of who it was and their reaction once it's done.
Fun. That's so fun.
Yeah. And because, I mean, honestly, and it's on our design team, we had this conversation, and it's twofold. Like, we get to surprise clients. They're going to be super happy to get something for free, and that's obviously awesome. But the design team gets to do something that they wish they could have done because the client's budget didn't allow it, so they weren't able to. So it'll be nice to kind of do, so you'll get to pick, what client you really want to do that with and nice. Dive in, and, everybody wins, I think. So
it's fun. Yeah. I know when I did this for a client about a year ago, I hadn't done it for a little bit because, I did a little side gig in corporate marketing, and we just didn't do it. Yeah. So that first time I did it for a client, like, I totally went overboard. Like, I was just so excited to be doing it again. I just jumped back in.
And they're like, you sure this only took a couple hours? You're like, yeah, I'm sure. I definitely haven't stayed up for 7 days in a row. Yeah. No, I know. I'm the same way. So this is going to be awesome. No, this is great. And I think it's, it gives you a test, and it gives the client a little test, and gives them a little something extra that they can start to trust us a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So. Well, thank you for doing this today.
Thanks
it was Chris. It was
me.
great to have you.
This is fun.
This is fun. And, I think next time I see you, we'll make sure that there's microphones and we're just recording everything that we do.
Yeah.
Why not?
It works.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Take care. Thanks for joining me on Design and Thrive. I hope today's episode gave you some ideas and tools to take your brand to the next level. If you found value in this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For more resources, freebies, and downloads, head over to BrkichDesign.com. As always, find the link in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and remember, we're here to help you create something awesome.